Hello everyone, so we are the group 6. I am Rebecca Tan together with Miss Lakaya, Miss Sobior, and Miss Dante. So today we will be covering learners with special educational needs, specifically those who struggle with self-care. So this section presents another set of learners with disabilities with specific difficulties in care or caring for oneself. So let me introduce first our learning objectives. So at the end of this lesson, the student should be able to define and identify the difficulties of learners with self-care, find out various learning characteristics under self-care, and lastly, identify different adaptation in general education about self-care. So, what is self-care? So, self-care often refers to a person's capacity to perform daily living activities or specific to body care such as the following skills like washing oneself, brushing teeth, combing, trimming of nails, toileting, dressing, eating, drinking, and looking for one's health. So overall, it's your personal hygiene and grooming. But we should remember that it is not only talking about the physical health of a child, but for their mental health as well. So, if an individual has some challenges or struggles performing these kinds of activities, then he or she is included in this type of difficulty found in the learner. Self-care skills are gradually learned by very young, typically developing children through adult modeling or direct instruction. So it is very understandable, no, that in developing children or young children really needs the support and guidance of the adult or to their parents for them to do a specific task and for them to learn. On the other hand, children with additional needs may struggle with the basic activities of daily living. Oftentimes, such as students are those with moderate to severe cognitive deficits, including individuals with intellectual disability or intellectual developmental disorder. So, if we think of it, children with difficulty in basic activities may have intellectual problems. Like, for example, a child is unable to coordinate to brush his or her teeth. And in terms of eating, a child is unable to feed themselves independently, so they need some help to adults or to their parents so that they can eat. And another in terms of dressing, so usually at the age of 4 to 7, children already know how to dress and to undress themselves. But in this case, like ni Ishan, he is already around 8 or 9 years old, right? But there's a part there in the movie nga dili pa siya ayo ka maumo dress on his own. And looking for one's health. So it includes exercise, socialize, is that child know how to socialize with his or her friends or neighbors, and is that child know how to rest, because as we all know, rest is one of the important way to care to ourselves. So now let's proceed to intellectual disability. So, intellectual disability is a developmental disorder that includes deficits in intellectual and adaptive functioning across domains of conceptual, social, and practical that occur during the developmental period. To be diagnosed with IDD, a student must have deficits in both the cognitive and adaptive domains. So, this difficulty is mainly focused on the way an individual think or approach the things or details around his or her surrounding or environment. So, in this case, an individual will be needing assistance from adult or other people. And children with Down syndrome with moderate to severe disability may also have problems with self-care. Having this kind of illness is a big challenge of an individual. That's why we often see them having some company because they need assistance or guidance in performing a task. So these are just some of the information and details that can help us define this difficulty with self-care. So young children suspected to have cognitive deficits which manifest to difficulties with self-care can be identified at a very young age. The traditional approach to measuring levels of severity of ID was determined through the use of intellectual tests. So what is intellectual test? So it can be referred to measure or identify the level of severity of the child's intellectual disability, in which the mild level with an IQ of 50 to 70, moderate with an IQ of 35 to 50, severe with an IQ of 20 to 35, and profound with an IQ of below 20. However, based on the definition provided by the American Psychiatric Association 2013, using measures of intelligence is only one aspect as adaptive functioning also needs to be assessed to identify if a child has an intellectual disability. In place of IQ levels, the support needed by a person with ID is used to determine the level or degree of severity of the disability. The adaptive functioning means how well a person handles common demand and how independent they are compared to other similar age. Some examples of these are the ability to work and practice social skills. So the presence of ID or IDD is measured by direct observation, structured interviews, and standardized scales such as the AAMR Adaptive Behavior Scale of Lambert et al. 1993 in Hayward 2013 and Vineland Adaptive Behavior Skills of Sparrow et al. 2016. So, some domains measured by AAMR Adaptive Behavior Scale include personal sufficiency, community self-sufficiency, and social adjustment. On the other hand, the Vineland Adaptive Behavior Skills cover communication, daily living skills, socialization, and lastly, motor skills. So that's all of my part. I hope you learned something, and now I will give the screen to Miss Lakaya.
Thank you, Miss Rebecca Tan. So now I will discuss the learning characteristics. These are the learning characteristics of the learners with difficulties with self-care. So as what Miss Tan discussed, self-care refers to a person's capacity to perform daily living activities or specific to body care such as the following skills like washing oneself, brushing teeth, combing, trimming nails, toileting, dressing, eating, drinking, and looking after oneself. So students who have difficulty with self-care oftentimes reach developmental milestone at a later age compared to typically developing peers. So they take longer to sit up, crawl, walk, and talk than other children. They may struggle to remember and comprehend the implications of their actions. So those children having an ID or intellectual disabilities, dugay sila ma-develop like kanang crawl, walk, sit up, and talk. So I've known someone who have a Down syndrome. He is now a 5 years old but iya lang mastorya is mama and papa. So makaingon jud ta nga he is having a disabilities. Children with intellectual disabilities may also have deficiencies in the areas of reasoning, planning, judgment, and abstract thinking. So, as a result of cognitive difficulties, children cannot be able to reason out planning their daily activities, think normally, and compared to others. So, in the other hand, depending on the level of support needed, a student with intellectual disabilities learns adaptive skills at a slower pace, so resulting in delay compared to some same age typically developing students. So, when a child has difficulties in self care, they might also have difficulties in school. So, these are following instructions, receptive language, fine motor skills, organization, and learning new tasks. So, following instructions, they are having a hard time in understanding and be able to initiate the task to be done as requested by their teachers. So ang children nga having the intellectual disabilities, they cannot be able to cope up easily sa mga gi-instruct sa teachers. So, receptive language or understanding, those children with ID, they struggle in comprehension of language. So, kanang maglisod sila glitok ag kanang mga English like that. So fine motor skills, they are having difficulty in opening lunch boxes, tying shoelaces. So they cannot be able to kanang easily kanang open sa ilahang mga lunch boxes, sa ilang snacks. So they need a guidance. In organization, they are struggling to distinguish what materials are involved in the task, and learning new tasks, they find it hard to retain it to their memory because of their intellectual disabilities. But, despite their difficulties, youths with intellectual disabilities are known to be friendly, sociable, reported to have positive coping skills. And according to Carter 2015, he conducted a study which he investigated the strength and positive traits of transition aged children with intellectual disability or autism as reported by their parents. I know that you already know what is autism, right? Since it was already discussed by our teacher. So with the use of quantitative and qualitative measures, the study yielded the following positive traits of the youths. So, so first, they have a positive outlook in life. Second, they shows positive relations with others. And third, they have active coping skills. And lastly, they have acceptance coping skills. So in this study also, they found that the youths were rated highest in items pertaining to the positive outlook factors. So this results the importance of having to find the strength in children with additional needs, make them aware of this strength and use them to their advantage. So that's all for my report, and I will give the floor to Miss Mary Ann Sobior. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Jovelyn. So now let's continue to general educational adaptation. Here, specific approaches have been found to be effective in teaching students with difficulty with self-care. So this is the specific approaches: the use of direct or explicit instruction, task analysis, forward and backward chaining, and video modeling. So first, let's tackle the direct explicit direct or explicit instruction. It is essential that the instructions given are simple and straightforward and that hands-on. Well, we all know that we love simple and straightforward instruction because it is easily to understand the topic that was given by our teacher, and therefore the explicit instruction is the wrapped, organized, and sequential method of teaching. Lessons become incredibly clear when teacher use specific instruction. For example, the experiential activities. Well, in these activities, the teacher demonstrate to the class in detail both what to do and how to do it. Then by performing it with physical and demonstration, it is clear for us kung how will we do it. Therefore, it is a perfect for teaching practical, hands-on skills rather than those abstract ideas because it is direct support guide their practice. Second specific approaches is task analysis. Task analysis is a behavioral approach that breaks down a complex behavior or task into step-by-step procedure, thereby providing modeling and ample practice for the students with difficulties. So, task analysis is the practical for bringing down a complex task into a manageable and simple that easily to understand the subtask. So, task analysis also works best when combined with a boring experience, and that is true because rewarding is always boost to confidence, the self-esteem. They active participation of a student. Also, when we reward, we always reward our student when they are in good behavior, especially when they carry out its steps or finish the task. So, for example, the washing hands and the reinforces this can be high five or a verbal compliments, and also we should never forget that we should take it into account the reinforces that are significant and aspiring to our student. So Gargiulo 2012 provided working guidelines on how to do task analysis. So the first guideline is define the target behavior or task. So, it is important to know our target or sequence task kay mao ni ang mag-allow sa atong learner to fully participate in the teaching learning process. Second is identify the required skills needed to successfully complete the task. So, it means we should be aware of what the needed skills or strategies so the child completely the task successfully. Then the third one is identify the necessary materials to perform the task. So these guidelines also are need to know and understand of what is the best instruction materials that we are going to use. Kay man ta na ang materials is a powerful tools to bring about effective teaching to our student. Fourth one is observe an able and competent person perform the task. So we can observe our student which perform the task with perseverance and resilience kay kung kinsa tong mga student na nag-i-excel na mga learner kung buhaton nila ang usa ka task or activities. The last one is list the needed steps and sequential order to complete the task. So, in an inclusive classroom, self-care skills such as washing hands and brushing teeth can be task analyzed into simplest steps and presented in a poster accompanied by pictures. Using direct instructions, the teacher models how each steps is done, then allows the student to try the steps with guidance and prompts until he or she able to do the task independently. Hence, direct instruction and support from the environment in the form of prompts and as well as routines that are simplified are essential for students to eventually become independent in using self-care skills. So this according to Hayward 2013. So in here it means ang self-care skills with this figure can easily understand and learn by the students because this or parehas sa example ganina na washing hands and brushing teeth, this example is gunad pa ni sa elementary pa lang na nakatakol na ni nato before ang self-care through step by step with guidance to our teacher, diba? And also we can be able to do the task independently. So that would be all in my topic. So I will give the floor to Miss Dante.
So, thank you, Ms. Subior. And now let's proceed to the forward and backward chaining. This tool is typically used alongside with task analysis. So, first is the forward chaining. So, forward chaining is a program that begins with the first step of the sequence, providing the needs in hand-over-hand assistance, and then gradually fading verbal and gestural prompts. So, for example, teaching a student how to brush its teeth. So, you need to teach them first the first step, which is magbutang ka og toothpaste sa toothbrush. And then, proceed to the next step until you arrive to the final step, which is wiping and drying its mouth. So, another example is teaching a child on kanang washing its hands. So, you need to teach him first the first step, which is na opening the faucet, and until to the last step, which is the drying its hand. The goal of forward chaining is to allow the student to master the first step first and then followed by the next step in the sequence until the entire task has been done or has been performed. So the next is the backward chaining. From the word itself, backward, the teacher teaches first the last step of the sequence in order for the student or the child to be independent on doing it. So backward chaining, the teacher models all the steps from the beginning and then allows the children or the child to do the last step of the behavioral chain with the assistance and prompts. So, for example, let's stick with the washing the hands. So, the teacher teaches first the students na how to wipe its hand or drying its hand. So, with assistance and prompts. So, next is, they proceed to the first step, which is katong opening the faucet. Hantod sa magwaswas na sayang kamot. Then, teacher let the child to do the last step, which is na drying its hand with assistance and prompt. Iyagya po nang i-assist para masakto. Then, pasagdaan na to niya itong bata nga magbuhat ito nga last step. So, these two can also be shown in a video-based intervention. So, what is a video-based intervention? So, video-based intervention includes modeling and video prompting for teaching daily living skills such as brushing the teeth, setting up tables, washing the dishes, and many more. So, video-based intervention has been effective for years, especially for learners with intellectual and learning difficulties. We all know that we have our own or self-paced way of learning. We have different ways how to learn. So, with video modeling, a student watches a brief video of an able person doing or performing a targeted skill or task, and then the child will imitates the behavior, what they seen in the video. So, in video self-modeling, the student watches a video of someone or his or himself performing a task. And then, in video prompting, each steps are shown in the video, which the students be able to imitate this step shown. So, video-based intervention has been a helpful tool for us throughout the years because as a student, we can access the video anytime and anywhere. We can replay it as often as we needed to develop our self-independence. So that's all for the learners having a needs for self-care.